At last, the time is finally here. Our third and final legendary beast, Entei, has landed. Again, a Target exclusive. The price point, $19.99. Now, there is a Target Circle deal going on right now for toys, electronics, games, and things like that. It is 15%. So I ended up getting two of these, one to keep sealed for my legendary beast collection, and obviously the second one to open and review with y'all. I ended up saving a little bit of money, which is always a great thing. Now, this Target Circle deal expires on the 29th of June, so this Sunday. A perfect opportunity to grab this. Right now, as I'm filming this, they are currently in stock to ship and also for store pickup. I love the way these legendary beasts display in the packaging. That's definitely why I had to grab a second set. Now, you can see a great illustration of Entei at the front, and then we also have a nice one on the side of the packaging, leaping through the air, very traditional Pokemon 3 movie style. Per usual, here is the barcode and the Target DPCI to help you track this down in store. First impressions out of the packaging. Could they have made this figure any heavier? It is a solid piece. It's got a lot of weight to it, which I actually like because it doesn't feel cheap or like flimsy. But in all seriousness, it is made really well. A very premium figure. Now, they have hard plastic pieces, and they also have like softer, pliable pieces throughout, which will help aid in articulation and like range of motion. As we get a nice 360 view, everything looks nice and clean. The sculpting is fantastic. Nothing seems like ill proportioned. The paint applications and their color scheme look phenomenal. From an appearance standpoint, this might be the best out of the three legendary beasts. I mean, the likeliness of Entei is definitely top tier, and we haven't even done the mouth articulation there, but here's a better look at those eyes. You can see how well they are painted. Again, nice and symmetrical. The paint is very clean, no bleed, nothing like that. The like cloud fluff on the back is very well sculpted. It gives the appearance that it's like flowing and just like majestic looking. The bangles or like anklets at the legs are present and proportioned really well. You can see that the front ones kind of hide the joints a little bit, so that's pretty cool. I wonder if it hinders that articulation, but we'll find out here in just a second. We do have some added details when the mouth is open. We have some pearly whites as well as a painted tongue. Last but not least, we do have some pads at the bottom of the feet. There is also a pinhole for the articulated stand. Wonderful internet has Entei standing at 6 feet 11 inches, just about as tall as Master Chief. And here we have Entei just under 6 inches, so not quite in scale, but that was kind of to be expected. I mean, Raikou was the only one that was remotely in scale. Since I mentioned Master Chief, here's an in-scale actually figure from Jazwares. So to give you some perspective, Entei should be probably around this range or so. But of course, we will compare all legendary beasts towards the end of the video. So let's just jump right into articulation, starting at, how about the hind legs? Here at this hip, I can take this leg and I can bring it out about that far, almost all the way flat, and then bringing it forward. Not a whole lot going on there. I just pretty much a straight up and down is as far as that's gonna go. Do have what seems to be like a ball joint here at the hips also. So a little bit of movement, nothing crazy going on. I mean, Entei can't do the splits this way, but you can still get a little bit of movement here. Next joint down, which is pretty much like a knee, is partially covered by like this bangle area, so flexing back, not a whole lot going on there. That bangle does get in the way. However, when I move it forward, I'm going to get a little bit more range of motion that way. And so that is just from this joint alone. But just below that, we have like our backwards knee. Despite being more of an exposed joint and not so much covered by this area here, I'm not getting a whole lot of articulation from this. I mean, I can move it forward and backwards just a bit. Nothing crazy. All in all, I would have liked to have seen some more movement out of those joints there. But in conjunction with all three of these, I can still get a pretty decent amount of range of motion there. I could definitely get the leaping through the air type of deal going on. The last joint to the back legs is going to be the feet here, so I can get some movement going up and down. Nothing too crazy, but this is the only joint out of the entire leg that does have a swivel, so I can rotate the foot in many different directions. As for the front leg, should be the same story, maybe a little bit more range of motion. So starting here at like the shoulder area, I could take this leg, whoa, okay, a lot more than I expected. I could take the leg and go completely flat. That is great. And then going backwards, not a whole lot going on. So if this was like a straight up and down, I can go back about that much. First joint down is going to be a backwards knee, which again is partially covered by this sculpted area here. So I could take this leg. Ooh, okay, pretty good amount there. This is if the leg is in a neutral pose, and so that's about as far forward as that's going to go. And then if I went backwards, nothing really. I mean, I think I felt maybe one click backwards. While keeping this leg in a relatively neutral pose, the next joint down, which is going to be kind of like a normal knee, I guess, I can go forward and backwards about that amount. Pretty consistent with what we've seen within the back. And then at the feet, same type of thing going on, up and down. Not a crazy amount, just like the fur area gets in the way there, but I do have that ball joint or like swivel area, so I can rotate that foot all different directions. So far, these joints feel nice and stiff. Nothing feels loose. Again, a very solid, heavy figure. I mean, a lot of plastic for $20. Insane. Moving up from the legs, these like spiky areas that come off the side have no articulation. They just stay in this static position. Same thing for like this cloud piece here. It is a static piece. It is, however, connected to the back of the head, which does have some articulation. Like I mentioned in the earlier part of the video, there is other plastic pieces that are a little flexible, I guess. So this like main area here, you can lift this up and that will show you the joints that are underneath connected to the head and like neck. I am glad that they went with like this rubber type of material because that won't restrict the movement of the head. I mean, there is going to be a limited amount just based on the design of Entei without making this thing look wonky, but you can see we can take this head and go downwards just a little bit. Nothing crazy over the top. I mean, it's just all like layers and layers of plastic. That's just the nature of the beast, no pun intended. But I mean, with the spikes off to the side, you're not going to really be able to turn from side to side. I mean, I think this is a ball joint. That's what it feels like. So you're not going to get a whole lot of movement, but that was to be expected. But I can move the head downwards just a tad. Again, nothing crazy. Now, let's say that I wanted to kind of offset Entei's look to like the left or the right. I can probably lift this cloud piece over like one of these spike areas here, and that will allow Entei to look a little bit more in one direction. Again, nothing too crazy, but it's there. For what it's worth, you have a little bit going on. Our last area of articulation is going to be here at the jaw. Doesn't look like I can close it all the way, which is okay, but it is on a hinge joint like the rest of the legendary beasts, so I can open it up, giving a ferocious roar action, and then I can close it just a little bit if I wanted to, and then a little bit more. So pretty cool. I'm glad that they added this. Instead of keeping it like a roaring position at all times, I'm glad that I can still close it and be able to get some different personality out of this. Before we jump into comparisons, which I'm very excited for, I do want to have a little food for thought. The Jazwares Vault has been up and running for what, 2 or 3 months or so? We have yet to see any Pokemon items. I think that's a perfect opportunity to place some trainers for the trainer team series. I mean, Ash, Brock, Misty, Cynthia, Leon, Marnie. I mean, there's a lot of potential there. Jazwares, if you're watching this, let's make it happen. Trainers, I present to you the legendary beast complete trio in Pokédex order. I have been so excited to present this and display this on my shelf since the announcement of Suicune. Let's just take a moment to appreciate how beautiful and legendary this looks. I do feel like now that the trio is complete, you know, if they've released all these beasts, they're going to be highly sought after. I feel like these are just going to skyrocket in value. So if you haven't grabbed any of these, try to get them now, at least at a close to retail price, because these are figures people are going to be talking about long into the future. Let's put them in order as far as shortest to tallest. Raikou is supposed to be 6 feet 2 inches, Suicune is supposed to be 6 feet 5 inches, and we know Entei is now 6 feet 11 inches. So ideally, this is how they should be from shortest to tallest. But you might argue, does the height of Suicune measure at where the top of its head is, or this like actual headpiece? Because if that's the case, it is slightly taller than Raikou. Yet it still looks like it is slightly smaller than Entei, which means that these are technically in scale with each other. However, when I have these two matching up facing each other, it does seem like they almost match up identically. I mean, You're just cutting hairs at that point. But I do want to talk about the 2010 Zoroark movie, which features the legendary beast for the first time in film. All together, we get a good look at how they stand next to each other. Based on these images that I was able to pull from the film, you can see that Suicune, the top of Suicune's head, like its actual skull, is shorter than Raikou, and the actual top piece to its head, like the crystal version looking emblem, is taller, or at least slightly taller than Raikou. All I gotta say is, when I see them standing side by side like this, it brings a new perspective on like what you would call them in scale with each other. But at the end of the day, it's not a big deal to me. They're not crazy out of wonk, so I'm just happy to have these figures. I think they're absolutely phenomenal. One last very important comparison. Who has the best stride? Who has the best running motion? I gotta say, it's probably Suicune and Entei. Both definitely have their strengths and weaknesses in certain joints, but I gotta say, look at Entei. Full flat, laying on the ground, no problem. Suicune can't quite do that with the front legs, but regardless, this is a beautiful sight to behold. Alright friends, that's going to wrap up this review and unboxing of the new Trainer Team Series Entei figure. Now these are Target exclusive, hitting stores now, and as many of you know, Target is doing their massive clearance and getting ready for the summer reset, so you're going to see a lot of yellow tags throughout all the aisles, so don't be surprised if this is still in the back, so make sure you show that Target employee the barcode so you can snag one for yourself. If shipping is more your style, then I'll post the links in the description below as well. The appearance of Entei is absolutely spot on. I love the sculpting all throughout. It is very well done. The paint applications look nice and clean. There isn't any like bleed, and the eyes look nice and symmetrical. Stand at the bottom of the body works out perfectly, and you can get some great poses like running or leaping through the air. It isn't in scale with like other 6-inch figures, but that's okay because this line has never claimed to be all in scale. I am happy though that it does match up pretty well with the rest of the legendary beasts. With that being said, take the information I gave you about that Zoroark movie and do with it what you will, but at the end of the day, I love the way they look on display in the shelf. I mean, these legendary beasts as a trio displayed is a centerpiece for sure. When it comes to the articulation, it may not be as profound as some of the other figures like Mewtwo back there, but I think they did the best that they could with this figure. I mean, the design of Entei, you're kind of limited without making it look deformed. It definitely still has some great movement. This is the only legendary beast that you can lay all the way flat, like totally straight. And the other two beasts back there can't do that. So arguably, you could say that this does have some better articulation than the other two. Granted, Suicune might have some better head articulation, but it can't lay totally flat, so there's pros and cons to each legendary beast. I mean, when it's all said and done, this literally cost $20. You know, especially if you use that Target Circle coupon or whatever, it will cost you only $20. And that is so much figure for that price point. And again, this thing is heavy. It is very sturdy. There is like no loose joints to it whatsoever. It is made very well. With that being said, from a collecting standpoint, I can see these skyrocketing in value. So it is best to grab them now at retail or close to retail so you don't regret it later. I've said it once, twice, maybe 3 times, but I'm going to say it again. These types of figures are what we're going to be talking about for years down the line. They're going to hold their value, and they're always going to display so well. I mean, this is the first time they've ever done anything like this, a legendary Pokemon in articulated form. And I don't know how often they're going to restock or reissue these, because we have the legendary birds up there, and they have not seen a single re-release or restock at all. But that's all I got for you with this video. I really appreciate you watching and hanging out with me. It was fun to talk about these legendary beasts, and you know, I'm excited to see what other Pokemon we're going to get down the line. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and it lets me know that I'm doing a good job. Be sure to connect with me on Instagram and TikTok to stay up to date when new things drop like the rest of the Trainer Team series. I also post toy photography and toy videos. Until then, collectors, I'll see y'all in the next video.